Welcome to FIL Your Boots. Covering critical times of the season, FIL hosts industry experts, colleagues, and most importantly, local farmers like yourself, bringing you useful insights and different perspectives to help you drive performance on farm.
Hi, welcome to the third episode of FIL Your Boots podcast with FIL. Today I'm really pleased we've got Tania Fernyhough here who farms at Walton, just out of Matamata, milking 320 cows with her husband, Brendan. And we're going to talk to her today a little bit about their journey in addressing mastitis and how they've done it and where they've come from. So welcome, Tania.
Thank you.
Hey, look, let's go back 5 years ago. And the other thing I'd like to add is that you are a qualified nurse, aren't you? You did nurse before you went farming.
Yeah.
And I sort of like that because you know a fair bit about antibiotic and treating people, and that transpires to cows. So if we go back 5 6 years ago, you were having a little bit of a battle around mastitis.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we had just a rumbling cell count, probably in the 200s, low 300s. We had new staff start who were very gung-ho at treating everything. We had no, that was our fault, we had no farm protocols in place for what should happen. So they were treating clinical, subclinical, keeping cows out of the vat for a long time to keep the cell count low. And we had, I think by October, we had used up all of our antibiotic allocation from the vets for the year. And so the vet was ringing saying, what's going on? Yeah.
And that's something we see quite often on farm. That's actually when you get good conscious staff. They really they think they're doing a great job, don't they? And you can't detract from that.
No, they were really excited because the cell count was low, but it was a very costly exercise, both in antibiotics and having milk out of the vat. So, we were just treating symptoms. We were not getting any cause or prevention.
So what was your protocol about using antibiotic then? Like you were allocated?
We didn't really have one. It was just the staff said, we know what we're doing. So we were like, okay, great. But yeah, so we did get Pure Milk involved, they were helpful. It was a good start, but we still didn't, like if a bug came up, if a mastitis came up, we didn't know what we were treating. So we were treating with very broad spectrum antibiotics, which I wasn't happy with. Just being a nurse, I know that I've seen antibiotic resistant bacteria coming in more and more into the hospital. And I know it's a problem. It's not ideal. And so I think it was in a dairy paper, we saw an ad for farm medics for on-farm mastitis testing and rang Natasha up and really started to make some progress from there.
Yeah. So you rang Natasha up and started doing some testing at that time. And what did you predominantly start to find?
Do you know, I can't really remember. We have a mix of E. coli, strep, oob.
Yeah.
And the staph was mostly picked up through herd screening high cell count cows from herd tests. We'd never done a whole herd screen, which I think was a mistake. I think we should have done it back then and run with that, but we haven't. So we do check up on farm. Natasha, we had a lot of support from Natasha.
Yes.
I think, just about every cow we plated, I'd send a photo to Natasha and she'd help us interpret it. And we worked with our vet to develop a more targeted treatment plan. So depending on what bug we grew, if any, often there wasn't a bug that grew and the cow would resolve herself within 24 hours. So
you would take a sample, you would plate it thinking she had clinical mastitis, but it wouldn't grow anything.
Yeah, so we'd wait for 24 hours to see what it grew. If it grew nothing, we'd just watch her and not treat. And then depending on what bug it grew as to what antibiotic we would use.
So by knowing what those pathogens were, you really changed your antibiotic usage and became more prescriptive depending on what you were using.
Definitely, and use less because quite often the cow does resolve herself within 24 hours if you give her a chance.
Yeah.
But we just had, the staff hadn't given the cows the chance, which again, that was our fault. That was not leading from the top. So
but I think this is something we see a lot on farmers, and you can't take it away from staff. I think there's probably a lack of education. I go into the South Island now, and we've got a lot of people from overseas that haven't milked cows, and depending on what they want to do a good job. So I guess putting those SOPs in around it, standard operating practices, is important.
Yeah.
You said to me you found a lot of coliform. You have a feed pad also, don't you? So you do find quite a few instances of E. coli mastitis?
Yes. Oh, well, not a lot, but we do find some. Yeah, we don't. I think last year we treated 7% of the herd, which is still higher than what I would like, but we haven't culled our staff cows. We've kept them and milked them last.
Yeah.
About 5% of the herd are probably still non-staff cows. And yeah, we're going to change that. I think we need to get rid of those cows and have a bit of a blank canvas. And
so how many staff cows have you think you roughly got floating? Because you're milking those separately.
Yes,
they're in the
milked
herd
last. Yeah.
How do you manage that? Like, that's a pain in the.
We have automatic drafting.
Are you telling your husband to do that? And
well, we've got automatic drafting, so it's not too painful, but it does add on extra time, and especially in spring when we've got colostrum cows as well, it gets frustrating. But more through Natasha, we've learnt that the calves can pick up the staff from their mums when they're born, or through being fed staff milk, which I think is a factor for us because we have picked up some heifers with mastitis.
Yes.
With staff.
So they're coming in with mastitis?
Well, coming in with staff when their herd screened.
Yes.
So I think we need to get rid of our older staff cows and just start afresh. Yeah.
That's a hard decision to make when
it's taken us 6 years to get to that point. So they're always the good high producing or the nice young cows. So
yeah, it is always a very hard decision to make. But you obviously you're reducing that opportunity for those to transfer. So you use the collars to draft those out of the herd back last, and you milk those last.
Yeah.
So there's no opportunity for that to transfer realistically.
Not from those cows, but if there's heifers coming in undetected or other cows floating around, getting it from the heifers that are undetected, then yeah. So it's been a little bit of a journey, and so whereabouts is the cell count now? You said high 200s, low 300s now, but still keeping in mind you've got those staff cows in the vet still. Where is it now? For the first part of the season, it's under 100,000, and then about this time of the year, it creeps up to around 130,000. Yeah.
That's a nice level to be at, because I think the premiums for most dairy companies are around the 150.
Yeah, we'd like to be lower, just because that would indicate to me there really isn't problems there.
Yeah.
And I think getting rid of these 5% of staff cows will probably do that.
I know Brendan would be very keen to do that.
Yeah.
So tell him, and what about the treatment? So you go back 5-6 years ago, you said you're treating about 7% of the herd now. Has that dropped? The treatment rate dropped?
Oh, yeah, it's dropped massively. I think we used to treat about 20% plus
20%
of the herd.
Yeah. And down to 7. And where do you think you can realistically get that to? You think? Do you have a goal?
I don't know. But we have also started much more selectively dry cowing. So based on, again, advice from Natasha, we will RMT cows that dry off and just dry cow affected or positive RMT quarters if necessary, rather than blanket or even all 4-quarter dry cows. Wow. And we do blanket teat seal as well. So
you will RMT, find a reactive quarter, use antibiotic on that quarter, and teat seal the other 3.
Teat seal all 4, but
teat seal all 4. Sorry, behind the one.
Yeah.
So that'll have a major impact on the amount of dry cow you use.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. But again, it's the input from Natasha that's been the driving force in that. So it's extra work. So Brendan's not that excited about it, but yeah, we'll see the benefits in the bank and just in less antibiotics used.
Look, I think it's great to talk to people that have actually had this experience and making these inroads. I think there's a lot of farmers in New Zealand that deal with high cell count or staff problems. That, I talked to one guy at Culverton that thought he was a bad farmer because he had high staff in the herd, and that's not the case. We have high prevalences of that, and I think what you guys have achieved has been fantastic. And we wish you all the best, and love to see you get that treatment rate right down, and progress from there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tania, for coming in today.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for tuning in to Fill Your Boots. If you'd like to learn more about the topics covered in today's episode, talk to your local FIL manager or head to fil.co.nz.